2024 is almost over, so I figured in this video I shared the top 5 things that I've loved using the most in this year. Mind you, these are not things that came out in 2024 per se, these are just things that I used the most in 2024. So this is the Sony 50mm f1.2, and it's easy to say that this has probably been my favorite lens to use this entire year. I picked this lens up at the very start of the wedding season, so like early May, right before the first wedding that I filmed, and I am so absolutely in love with this lens. The only downside, and I'm going to get this out of the way first because it's the only thing I don't like about this lens, is that it's quite big and heavy. So it's not a small lens at all, it's quite big. It's a lot bigger compared to the 20mm that I'm using right here. But other than that, this lens is optically perfect. The images are so stunning. The f1.2 is absolutely magical in my opinion. Everything that this lens films is just so beautiful. There's also like a natural halation around the highlights in the image when you're filming at f1.2. It just looks so good, so beautiful. The build quality is absolutely fantastic. The manual focus ring, the aperture ring, it's all very tactile, very good, and just everything about this lens is just amazing. I really think that the 51.2 has given my work like the wow factor that maybe it didn't have before, and if you guys are able to like rent it out for a weekend or two, I would highly recommend checking this lens out. It's expensive, but it's so good. Sony does also offer the 50mm f1.4 GM, which definitely is a better buy because this is like $1,000 Canadian, almost more than the 1.4. I don't think it's worth $1,000 more. So most likely for most people, the 1.4 is definitely better. But I kind of just went into the shop and I just had both of them in my hands, and I just felt like I would regret not owning the 1.2 because I could always stop down to 1.4, but I can't, you know, go to 1.2 with the 1.4. So I kind of just bit the bullet once and for all, and I have zero regrets, absolutely no regrets spending the money on this lens. I'm absolutely in love with it. So this right here is my Nanuk 950, and as you can tell, it's seen some better days. And I picked this up at the very tail end of the 2023 wedding season, so it's kind of cheating adding it to this list, but I primarily used it in the 2024 wedding season, and I have loved using this thing. This has pretty much eliminated the need of having all those tiny little bags with every little thing, so I can pretty much track down everything I own and I take with me to weddings in this one carrying case. The only thing that this would not carry would be like light stands and stuff like that, or gimbals, but you wouldn't expect something this size to carry that stuff anyways. But all of my cameras, all my lenses, all of my audio equipment, all of my cables, and a bunch of tiny little accessories, everything kind of fits in this case. And probably the very next video you guys are going to see on the channel will be a 2025 what's in my camera case, and a lot of things have changed since I've done that a year ago, so I probably will be updating you guys. But this thing has been an absolute beast. The wheels on this are super smooth and super heavy duty. The handle at the very back, amazing, and everything is just secure. You can just tell that this guy can take a beating. As you can tell, it already has. So I've really enjoyed having this to keep my gear protected and all in one place. That's really, I feel like it's elevated my workflow, and everything is just faster, and I don't have to worry so much about packing up and moving to a new location. Everything is here, it's super quick to pack up, it's secure, and it goes with me wherever I go. Next up is the Sony FX3. And honestly, this has been my dream camera pretty much from the moment it was announced. I just love everything from the color to the tally lights to the form factor to all the features. The sensor is amazing, and having that dual gain at 12,800, absolutely fantastic. So the question for me was never if I was going to buy this, it was always when was I going to buy this. And it was quite pricey, so I ended up selling my A7 IIIs for the A7 IV first because it offered a lot of features. It's what you guys are looking at me through right now, and it's a fantastic camera. I still own 2 of them, and I still use it for all my A-roll because the 3200 ISO is great for something like this. But the FX3 has always just been like the champ, the video king, right? There's honestly very little to complain about this camera, and I'm just kind of in love with everything this camera has to offer. So in May, I ended up buying my first FX3, and shortly after in June, I ended up buying another FX3, which I'm using to film this angle right over here. So this next item is kind of hard to fit in frame all at once, but this is the iFootage Cobra 3 monopod. And I personally was kind of hesitant picking this up because I didn't really feel like I needed a monopod, because I had a gimbal, I had a couple tripods. I didn't really see the need for a monopod like this. But then I saw so many good reviews about this guy online from a bunch of people that I really trust. So I finally decided to pick it up and see what all the hype was about. And I can say that it's really been one of those products that has really altered my workflow so much for the better. And I'm so glad that I picked it up, and I'm thinking about picking up another because I love this guy so much. All the hype online isn't really because this is some crazy revolutionary monopod. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think this guy is so popular because it gets all the basics right. There is just nothing to complain about here. It just does everything extremely well, which is exactly what we want. We want something that's sturdy, that's reliable. That's what I look for, at least. So I honestly have no complaints about this guy. The tripod head is just good enough for what a monopod should have. It's not too heavy, it's not too bulky, it gets the job done. It's also fairly lightweight for the amount of weight that it can support, which is great to see. It also has these very nice snap locks. You can just kind of leave it there, and whenever I want to put the tripod head back on, I just snap it in place, and that's not going anywhere. And I've had this for a year. I've had no accidents with this guy at all. There was only one day where I decided to not leave this guy standing on its own, and that was when there was a potential tornado warning. And thankfully there was no tornado, but my God, the winds that day were crazy. So that was the one day where I didn't leave this guy out on its own. But other than that, it stands perfectly fine on its own, even extended all the way. I'm not too worried about it. And honestly, the twist locks are just fantastic. The feet are quite wide, as you can tell. So basically what that means is that this guy is quite stable even at its tallest height. And it has the same snap lock here as well. So essentially what you can do is, to get those really ultra low shots, you can just take the base off, take the tripod head off, and you can just kind of connect those two and just get rid of the middle part altogether. It's a very quick way of getting those really low angle shots. Like for example, a groom putting his shoes on for the first time, or same thing with the bride. If you want to get something really low to the ground, you can do that super easily with this monopod, which is sometimes hard to do with other monopods. So I love that feature as well. So I think this monopod just has a lot of versatility, and I would recommend you guys checking it out. I know iFootage has some other models with like different bases, one where it has like a quick lever to kind of adjust the height, so it's all in one kind of extension tube, and they also have some with like round bases. But honestly, I haven't really had any issues with these feet, so I have no complaints really. So yeah, this is definitely one of those products that has definitely altered my workflow, which doesn't really happen that often. So I do recommend checking this out as well, and I'll leave a link down below for you guys. You guys probably saw this coming, but next up is the Atomos Shinobi 7. And I've said over and over again that 7-inch camera monitors are just plain superior than 5-inch camera monitors. And this guy is probably my favorite 7-inch monitor that I've ever used. I just think the panel is stunning and the build quality is great. The software for Atomos products is always a breeze to use, so I haven't really had any issues there. It just has all the features you would expect, and the touchscreen is very, very responsive, so that's a huge plus there as well. I think at the end of the day, we all are doing this because we love filmmaking, we love cameras, and we love going out to film. And I think that a 7-inch camera monitor just really elevates the filmmaking experience by like tenfold. It just feels good while you're filming something to look at it on a nice big bright monitor, and it just makes you feel good. And I would highly recommend you guys check out the Shinobi 7, or just any 7-inch camera monitor for that matter. And if you guys are wanting to check out the review I made of this guy comparing it to the Shinobi 5, you guys can check that out right over here. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time.